Hey everyone, it's Jeremy with Teletone, and this is the official walkthrough for our latest instrument, Ondine. Ondine is kind of a companion instrument to another instrument we released last year called Scarbo, but we are calling it the prequel to Scarbo, and for good reason. Scarbo was based on and inspired by the third movement of a piece by Maurice Ravel called Gaspard de la Nuit, and the first movement of that piece was titled Ondine. And that piece was based on a poem. Scarbo is kind of this story about this mischievous goblin character. Ondine is the story about this beautiful, seductive water spirit that tries to lure a man out of his home into the water where he would drown. We talk a lot more about this in our Muse video for Scarbo. If you've not seen that, I would encourage you to check it out. We talk more about the music, the poem, we play excerpts of it, but it will also give you a better idea about our thinking behind both of these instruments. So just a brief recap about what we're trying to do with both Scarbo and Ondine is we at Teletone, this is my deepest desire for you, is that you play music, that you perform music, that you write parts. And we want to create the simplest and most inspirational way for you to do that. So with these instruments, we took the components of a synthesizer that would normally be on the interface, so envelopes, filters, LFOs, effects. All that stuff is tucked under the hood, and it's all controlled by a minimum number of knobs. So we want to create the maximum number of sounds and possibilities that you can make with an instrument, but with the fewest knob movements possible. So let's go ahead and dive on into the interface, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. So luckily there's not a whole lot that we have to go over here because this is identical to Scarbo and there's not very many knobs. So at the center of both instruments, you see there are these two knobs, mood and movement. Mood is going to control, an array of different effects. It's going to be different for every preset. You can turn them off by turning this down, or you can turn them up. Movement does what you would think it would do. Any movement that's happening, in the preset is usually controlled by this. But also don't forget about the modulation slider. Whenever I'm playing Scarbo or Ondine, I typically have, one hand on the keys, and then my left hand is usually controlling the modulation because that's typically going to do something interesting to the sound. Sometimes it's introducing noise, sometimes it's introducing, a different octave or, a delay effect. It could be anything. So don't forget about modulation. And then down here you see the AH DSR knobs that you would typically see on any synth. You can use these to really dial in a totally different sound than what the preset is. We'll get a little bit more into that once we start listening to presets, which we should do right now. So why don't we go ahead and just start with the one I already have pulled up. This one is called Calm Chaotic. And first we'll just hear how it loads. You can definitely hear what we meant by calm chaotic. It is both of those things. So let's see what some of these knobs do. Let's turn, first of all, let's start with the modulation. That is controlling a noise. Pull that down. Let's hear what it sounds like turning the mood off. Or turning it up. can hear a little bit of like drift happening with the pitch. That is happening with the movement. If you want it perfectly in pitch without the drifting, then you can turn that down. Or you can turn it up and hear more of it. So one of the things that we did with the Scarbo video that I definitely want to do with this video as well is show you, kind of like I talked about in the intro, how many different sounds and possibilities there are with each one of these patches if you just start to move the knobs a little bit. So with those all the way down, let's just turn everything down. I've already been using this on different tracks, and what I really like this for is actually it works great as a bass. We could make the attack a little bit faster, make it a little more clicky. Turn the release and decay down if we want it shorter. Very, very subby sound to it. But we have a lot of presets to get to, so let's go to another one now. Continuing on the theme of water, let's listen to this, this preset called Adrift. So you can hear that the modulation is introducing some notes an octave higher from the fundamental. If you wanted to make this into more of a keyboard type sound or whatever keys, then you could scoot up the attack on that. Let's keep it in the spirit of you know, what we made. Let's hear it with the mood down. See, it's adding some reverb and I think a little bit of saturation. Let's turn the movement up, see what that does. You hear how it's creating kind of some of the waves of the sound. So that is Adrift. Let's go to another one. All right, let's listen to this one, Bangs. And I'm just going to play it as it loads first. You can see how the movement is kind of affecting that pulsing envelope. Mood. It's going to add some reverb. And it looks like the modulation is controlling a low pass filter. It's a really nice sounding preset, but you can go a little more aggressive with it. When you turn this movement up, you get a very different sounding LFO happening. Okay, let's hear it with everything all the way down. You can just use this as a much simpler pad if you wanted to. Okay, so that is bangs. Okay, let's look at this patch called Bottom Heavy. This is one that I have primarily used as a bass. You can use it however you want, but it really does, it sounds very punchy and big as a bass. Movement is adding kind of a tremolo effect. One of the nice things about setting up some of the movements as re-triggered events, which may be a word you're not super familiar with, or maybe you are, but basically, you know, a pulsating effect like this means it's going to start over every time you hit a note, rather than all of the notes syncing together. It will re-trigger the effect every time you play a note. So I like using that to make new rhythms. So listen to this. You hear hear this basic pulsating thing. And then we'll add an octave on top of that to make a new rhythm. Anyway, that's kind of fun to mess with. Obviously, there's a lot more you can do with it if you start messing with the AHDSR knobs. You could make, you know, much more of a subby, sustaining sounded bass if you turn these up. We'll turn that off. But I'll leave that up to you to kind of see how you want to use that. Let's move on to a different one. And some of these I'm going to try to move through quicker because I'm guessing if you had the option of hearing me play for a lot longer on each preset or hearing more presets, you'd prefer to hear more presets and less of me playing. So we'll move briefly through some of these. This is Bubble Bass. So this modulation is kind of affecting a filter, you can hear. You can get some distortion if you turn up the mood. You can hear the movement causes it to kind of drift, like the pitch to drift all over the place. Okay, so that's a bubble bass. Okay, let's look at this patch called Cinematic Fourth. It has that title because there is a fourth added to the fundamental of each note, which makes for some really interesting voicings of chords. I'm going to let that chord play for just a minute while I show you what the knobs are doing. So you hear movement is kind of creating this movement back and forth between the left and right speaker. Sounds like we get some reverb and maybe a little bit of saturation with mood. And then you have filtering under modulation. Really, really interesting chords that you can make when you use, you know, a preset like this. Let's keep moving. Okay, this next one is called Complete Domination for obvious reasons. Okay. So this one would be a fun one to kind of show you something we covered in another tutorial, which is how to, you know, sync up a few other UI elements to your mod wheel. The quickest way to do that is to control-click on it, learn MIDI CC automation, wiggle the mod wheel. Now your mod wheel controls both. We can do it again here. Now they are all three linked. And you can, if you're on a PC, by the way, I think it's control click or right click. Same thing though. So you can create some really interesting sounds when you sync up all three. And then if you want to take it off, you can just kind of reverse the process to take that off. But this is a really fun one because there's just so much you can do with it. You know, there's kind of the natural sequence it can play, but when we turn that off, we get some sounds that are almost reminiscent of Scarbo. Actually, let me hear what it sounds like to just link up these two. So yeah, all sorts of things you can do with this, obviously, and we haven't even touched any of these knobs down here. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's look at this one called Courageous Grief. So you can hear that the modulation slider is affecting kind of this pulsating, noisy sound. And the movement, once again, is causing some of those, some of that pitch shift. Let's hear it with that pitch a little bit tighter. That's really nice. Let's hear another one. Okay, this one's called Echo Canyon. So a lot going on this one. This one's really interesting. And I was kind of messing around earlier with taking some of these presets that have like a super long sustain or effect and seeing what happens if we go super short with the decay and release, and then faster attack. This kind of has like a fun echo to it. And kind of race yourself up the keyboard. That one's really fun to mess with. I will leave the rest to you to see what you do with this one. That was called Echo Canyon. Okay, this one's called Flashing Red. This is kind of a fun one to sync everything to the mod wheel. Let's do that again. Again, you're doing control click, learn MIDI CC, then wiggle the mod wheel. But I want to, well, let's do it this way first. I want to show you one other little trick. You can take this a little bit further. I covered this in another video, but we'll just touch on it real quick here. If you go under automation here in this side tab and then MIDI automation and then wiggle your mod wheel, you're going to see this red square pull up. And that's going to show you, if you click on it, everything that's attached to it. So you see modulation, mood, movement. And I just wanted to show you that you can reverse the action. So we could take this, instead of from 0 to 100, take it from 100 to 0, and now you see the action there is reversed. Let's hear that. Kind of a fun one, also a fun little trick you can do. Let's hear another one. Let's hear Goblin. This is one that I was kind of thinking would be like a bass, which is what I use it for a lot of times. But it could be anything you wanted. It has like a slower attack compared to some of the other basses. can get kind of that reversed sound. Getting like a little bit of like a rotary sound in there. It's kind of fun. That one is Goblin, and like I said, use it for whatever you want. You're going to hear a lot of Teletone tracks with Goblin on the bass. All right, let's do Guardin Shed. This one has a really interesting thing happening with the mod wheel. I really like that one, you know, both ways, but most of the time I've been using this one. I am using it with that mod wheel kind of slowly fading in, introducing that other sound that's panned to the right side. Of course, you can add a little bit more reverb or whatever in here. Add some pitch movement. That one is Guardin Shed. Real quick, let's just see if we can make a totally different sound with it. We'll turn these off. Let's make these, let's turn that sustain off. Could also make a pad out of it if we slow down the attack. Increase the sustain. That's kind of fun. that is Guardin Shed. Okay, Guitar Blooms. It will be the next one. And yes, we actually did sample some guitar for this. We can increase that flanger. The mood and the modulation and movement all seem to be working together to make different waves happen, which is kind of fun. And this movement is actually slowing down the samples themselves. I don't know if you could pick up on that. With this all the way down, it's almost like frozen. This is a little more natural. Have to play it like a guitar. I usually don't. So that is Guitar Blooms, a new edition. Us venturing into guitar just a little bit here. What's next? Harshmellow Bass. We won't stay on this one very long, but this is kind of this one has a really interesting, more aggressive sound to it. That is Harshmellow Bass. It's kind of a little bit related to another one we have in here called Marshmellow Bass. We'll go ahead and go straight into Marshmellow Bass. You can hear that one. You get the idea. That is Marshmellow Bass, a cousin to Harshmellow Bass. Let's check out another one. Okay, this one's called Hurry Up and Wait, and just like the name suggests, it kind of takes a second. It's kind of fun. Let's see what happens if we make it more short and staccato. It's a pretty fun one. Let's hear another. Okay, let's hear this one, Laughing Gulls. This might be my favorite. It's one of my favorites, top 5 for sure in the Ondine. Let's just hear the way it loads. But as always, you can do a lot with it. Let's just see what happens if we link the mood to the modulation. Really like this one. That is Laughing Gulls. Okay, sticking with the bird theme, let's do Mockingbirds. This is kind of a cousin to Laughing Gulls. Kind of hear that it has like a similar pitchy delay thing happening, but also pretty different than the other one. That flanger kick in. You can hear as you push that mod wheel up, you hear like a little bit of like a faster vibration, little stuttery sound. Lots of possibilities there. Let's hear another. I'm realizing how long I've gone, so now I'm just wanting to cram in as many of these presets as I can. Okay, let's hear ModElation. I think I remember naming this one because there's so much happening on the mod wheel. I gotta remember that for later. Lucky I'm recording this. I may use that for something. Let's hear another one. Okay, let's hear this one, November. And if you haven't been able to tell, I was very inspired by a lot of different Tyler the Creator records for this instrument. This preset, November, is kind of modeled after the sound from one of the Tyler Creator tracks from Flower Boy called November. Really love those chords. I had to use them in this demonstration because It's such a fun sound. And this movement, do different things with it with kind of a resonant LFO. Get some different tones when you move the mod wheel. You get a little bit more low end if you pull it down. That's a really fun one. That's called Novembered. Okay, this one's called P-Bass, and you guys have been asking about this one without knowing you were asking about it, but we've been putting up a lot of demos. A lot of the Vesper tone demos were using this preset from Ondine. It wasn't quite finished yet at the time, but called P-Bass. It's pretty sensitive to the mod wheel. If you you can get a little bit more of the resonant filter when you turn this up. And go super subby. And I think this is the first time this has come up in this video, but on a few of these patches, you'll see movement change to sensitivity. And all that means is that for this particular patch, you know, we didn't want to add movement to it per se, but you can affect the pitch by the velocity or like how hard you press the key. So with this all the way down, the pitch won't change. Turn it all the way up. Probably leave it around a little less than halfway. You hear it fatten up a little bit with the mood. Okay, let's try to do like a lightning round of just like 5 really fast. This one is Praiser Phaser. All right, let's try Silk Chic. Try to dial in a little different sound here. Anyway, I said this was a lightning round, so let's keep going. Okay, Sparkletooth. Okay, let's hear this one, The Mother Earth. I really like this one. It's very pretty. A lot going on. A lot of manipulation of the speed of the samples happening here. Really pretty. I've been using that a lot in our demos. There's some really fun panning stuff happening with the movement, but let's hear a few more. Okay, Warm and Fuzzy. Here's some chaos happening there. It's really fun. If you want to add a little more edge, obviously, as you can hear, you can turn the mood up. That's great for if you want the track to just have a little bit of a growl to it. This one's really fun. Okay, this will probably need to be the last one. We didn't even get to half the sounds in the instrument, but there's only, so long that you guys can sit here watching me demo these, so before you're just going to want to play it yourself. But yeah, here's a worn out section on VHS. Okay, I think it's going to do it for today. We didn't get through the majority of the presets, but hopefully it'll give you a good idea of what we did with Ondine. We're really, really proud of it. I hope that you guys create something really great with it. Go to teletoneaudio.com, follow us on Instagram @teletoneaudio, and yeah, excited to see what you guys make with Ondine.